Hey guys, what's good? Welcome to Order of Opinion. I'm your host Tim. This is my co-host Anthony.
What's good, guys?
For those of you returning or just tuning in, we are going over our ranking of the movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe from the shittiest to the greatest. Order of Opinion. Alright, so now we're looking at our number 8 movie. My number 8 movie, of course. Iron Man 1. I give it a 7.
Iron Man 1. Okay. Gotta love it.
The
first one.
The first one. The
starter pack.
The first Marvel movie. That is true. It is the starter pack.
$140 million budget, I believe. $560. 500. Yeah, they only made 560. It's terrible bust. 560 million. So Deadpool lengths, especially at the time of profit.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, definitely. It made a lot of money, and it was, it wasn't Disney, so it wasn't. No. It didn't necessarily have that big backing behind it that Disney did.
Yeah.
But I think it did do a good job. Overall, for not it is one of the stronger non-Disney movies. I thought it did good. It introduced the character of Tony Stark, obviously, which
an asshole,
an asshole, funny. He's sort of a coward. At first,
Jesus,
I think he is.
You throw around that C word, I'll tell you what.
He is a bit of a coward at first. You have to think his first reaction is to run and hide.
Oh, when he gets.
When they first start capturing him, then he gets
the doctor pep talk.
Yeah, Mr. fucking big doctor over here, who I guess they could have bothered to talk about more because it seemed like he might have actually had
a good backstory.
A good backstory.
And explain why the terrorists are fucked up. Because other than this attack, there's really no conviction to what they're so bad. You're just they're Arabian, so
yeah. And at the time, 2008, of course, you're looking at a Middle Eastern terrorist bad guy, which it takes a couple years.
Middle Eastern, that's what I meant, not Arabian. So
it takes a couple years for Marvel to let that one go.
Touching on real subjects now.
Yeah. So well, that's not part of what we're doing.
All right, let's talk about the movie.
Yeah, so we'll get back to the movie. I like the way they set up Stark. He's a coward at first, essentially. He's very selfish. He's bored with life, it seems like, almost. He's just given the same speech he's been given.
Yeah.
And
feels that he's upholding his dad's name, Stark Industries, American way, bearing arms.
That's how my dad did
That's how we protect people, is bearing arms. But little does he know where his arms are going and his weapons. People are thinking he is the real mass murderer.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really understand it.
Not really touched on until later movies. Sort of, and that's what I like about this movie is that
they called him a mass murderer in the movie.
They do, but that's not why he does what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He does what he does because he's in danger, and he shuts down his weapons division because his weapons almost killed him. Which makes him a bit more of an asshole. He's like, I'm fine with weapons killing other people. The moment a Stark missile gets fired at Mr. Stark himself, we're done making those.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's that?
And he was selling the weapon, I believe.
Yeah, so they were, he was at first initially selling, which was an awesome weapon, by the way.
Yeah, he was showing it off, yeah.
What do they
Good
call
scene.
It? Like a Hellfire missile or something
Good scene, well shot.
Yeah, and his little speech, that's how America does it.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. I really did. Yeah.
To me, that is the quote of the movie.
Yeah. That's how Dad did it.
Yeah. And so in that regard, a great opening scene. I like how it cuts back, it starts with the whole attack, and then it cuts back to who he actually is and what he's doing, that he's just sort of being a playboy, and then he has to go do this, and he's whatever over it. And he's sitting there, and I like the little, when they do get back to being in, I forget where they say he is exactly. It's like Iraq, right, or Iran. And,
I think it's Iran.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, though.
And so they have him come in, and he's just like all partied out. He's trying to get the soldiers to party and whatnot, and then he gets attacked, and he freaks out.
Yeah.
Like, he really freaks out. He loses it, and he almost died. Well, obviously he almost dies. That's how they
make
make
the shrapnels. Yeah.
Yeah. But then this whole thing about, like, he doesn't really, like, once he gets the power, then he feels powerful. He never, like, not like how we discussed with Ant-Man, where he is this natural hero prior to that. If anything, Stark's just sort of an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Prior to being Iron Man.
It just seems like he's was born into riches. Like, you could tell he's smart, but it's like he's just running Dad's company.
Yeah, he's privileged.
Yeah, very privileged.
And I don't get how smart he's supposed to be. I don't know. They don't really touch on that either. Obviously, like, super genius or whatever. Yeah. But the way he
after the terrorist scene, they do.
The way he figures stuff out is a little too quick.
And the terrorists have a lot of holes in that scene. Like,
oh gosh,
like when they first realize that he may not be doing exactly what they want, they're showing like him kick a fucking boot or has like a metal boot. They see it.
They
like
see
it's not
him
like
with the boot
the
on.
boot even. It's him like with it in. and the Safeway Select terrorist.
Yeah.
The generic terrorist, which was the worst actor in the movie.
The generic.
And he didn't even say much, and he sucked. He looked like Emotep from fucking Mummy. That whole scene where he finds it out, and they're still just like, oh, okay, we're just gonna leave you alone and like watch you on these half-ass surveillance cameras. And mind you have 100 guys there of terrorists. And you can't have one guy inside of there? I mean, it's a pretty big goddamn room.
Yeah, why would they be afraid of Tony Stark and another scientist?
I don't know. They obviously weren't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so why wouldn't they put someone in the room? What is the danger of having someone in the room in that
their
situation?
point was to get him to make a Jericho missile.
Yeah, that's what it was called. Jericho? Yeah. Hellfire.
Yeah.
It looked like Hellfire.
Hellfire, actually. Like
Hellfire.
That. Hellfire, yeah. Roll damn tide.
Roll
Good
damn
old
tide.
Scam Newton.
Yeah, so they that didn't make any sense to me either. And why would they have so few cameras? If you're not going to put a security guard in there, why you can't get your hands on a couple more
and
cameras?
they're like looking hella hard at the camera and shit. It's like, come on, man.
That's what I don't get, too. This is actually, like, a well-funded organization. Like,
not really. They're ragtag.
It's 10 Rings.
Yeah.
Which connects to Iron Man 3, so you have to assume that 10 Rings...
Sure, it's true.
...is funded. That's what gets it...
And that's another thing, too, that makes sense to me about Obadiah. Like, I know I'm jumping the plot here, but he kills all of them, and he gets, like, what? There's no other 10 Rings out there? He just killed a whole fucking troop of y'all's terrorist shit. You knew he was meeting with them.
True.
And no one goes after Obadiah after that.
Well, they do sort of explain why that wouldn't happen in Iron Man 3.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, whatever. Well,
I'll give you that explanation now, but mind you, it doesn't count towards this movie. 10 Rings is the Mandarin's organization, so they're not necessarily real.
Okay.
They might have cell organizations out there, but they're not really going to chase a dude down for killing him.
So what do they want the Jericho missile for?
Probably to kill Stark, I would imagine, if that's Killian's whole thing. But we'll get to that.
Otherwise, that whole scene was... Here's what I will say about this movie compared to Iron Man 2. It's darker. It's a sort of a dark movie. And I like that with the terrorist scene.
It is darker, and the way he makes the suit, like I said, there's a lot of holes in that.
Yeah, the fire, especially when he gets launched in the air.
Oh God!
How the hell does he survive that?
Dude, that is my biggest beef with the movie. It actually like makes me want to hate the movie a little bit because it's one of those times in a movie where your movie's over.
Yeah.
In 20, 30 minutes. Because of something. Now, it would have made sense if the blast could have blown him back. They could have done it any other way, but they had to shoot him in the fucking air. So he goes half a mile into the air, comes down, his suit explodes, lands in these sand dunes.
He just flops around in the sand.
And he flops around in the sand.
And then War Machine miraculously finds him through their choppers that couldn't see this terrorist base beforehand until maybe I'm assuming they saw Iron Man fly in the air.
Yeah.
But they got there that fucking quick.
No, okay,
You know?
so what happens, apparently, is they can't see a terrorist base with a bunch of people moving around, but they can find
explosions.
one guy in the desert. Because that's what they did.
What he did say some line right after that was funny, and I want to touch on that. I like Don Cheadle, good actor.
Oh, yeah.
Hotel Rwanda, big fan. Terrence Howard, he added a little like flavor to War Machine. You didn't even really feel that they were great of friends. Because remember, and jumping into this part of the plot, since we already talked about the stupid terrorist part, when Iron Man reneges his plans of making any weapons, and he's getting rid of what he wants to do with weapons. He uses the arc technology, right? He wants to use it as like whatever.
And then War Machine reneges his friendship.
Yeah, and he's like, not the friendship, but Iron Man.
He basically does. He says, "Don't talk to me until you're down to sell that."
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just cool.
But I don't know if that's really him or just like the fact that he feels like he has to do his job.
The way Don Cheadle probably would have played it like that, but Terrence Howard definitely played it as like, we're not friends anymore, dude.
Yeah. I like Terrence Howard though.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look like he'd feel right in the suit.
No, he's
Don Cheadle
he's too
looks
fat.
Don Cheadle looks like the War Machine suit.
Yeah, he has the cheekbones for it. Yeah,
It's like they said, all right, this is what Iron Man looks like. We need to find a guy that's head matches that, and we're
same thing with War Machine. And I love how they do throw that out there where he walks by and looks at the suit and he's like, not this time.
Right? Yeah, that's at the end. Yeah,
but they knew they couldn't put him in a suit because he's too fat.
And at this point of the plot now, he's too fat.
Well, mind you, and I actually read this.
Well, he could always rap his way into doing something.
With a lisp. Rap his way with a lisp and a bad Jerry curl fucking in his, like, shitty house. Anyway, this dude, at this time, they're still using real suits, so yeah, he might actually be a little too fat to be War Machine. They weren't CGIing as much.
Yeah, and that looked good. We have to give it credit. Although I did feel like...
Oh, yeah, that was my favorite. That earned, like, almost half a point just for having real suits because you lose that later on.
Yeah, it's all CGI.
Now, we look at Obadiah as the first Marvel villain, sort of weak. They never explain it. They do, Obadiah? But they don't. Like,
they touched it the whole... I mean, they start the movie with him in the magazines. He's what, vice president of the company?
Yeah, but they showed him through magazines. Okay, so he looks mad on a magazine at Tony Stark, and that just makes him a villain.
Yeah, and it was rushed. And you got to consider this, too. It starts when when they go to the arc reactor and they're talking about it, and Tony's like, I did it. Like, peep my chest.
Yeah.
Right? And Obadiah's like, oh, shit. So...
And I like how he messes with him at first. He's like, and then he almost sounds like a schoolboy when he's like, "Oh, I heard the rumors." He's like, "Show it to me."
And I liked when it started getting suspenseful with Obadiah turning bad. It got intense. I mean,
yeah, it was quick turnaround.
She finds out through the computer, which is the best ever through computer scene.
No Mr. Blue going.
No
on
Mr.
there.
Blue. No, and you haven't watched Batman, Superman, but Jesus Christ, that was cool. And then he comes in the room, and you're like, "Fuck, dude, shit's about to go down."
And that's when and that's where Coulson comes in and starts playing a bigger role because now Shield has to be involved.
Because he was up her ass, right? He was in her ear, and and then she ran back out. She was like, "Oh yeah, I'm with him." Right?
Something like so she knew he would give protection, and mind you, like it isn't really explained in the movie, but Coulson's sort of a badass.
Yeah,
like you end up finding out later on. So that actually is a good power move on her part to align herself with an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., but thus doing so, she sort of has to open the door for S.H.I.E.L.D. to be in their lives. So it's a double-edged sword, and arguably none of this really would have happened if that didn't happen. Probably a lot less trouble on Earth besides the Tesseract.
Yeah. And what Tony didn't realize was that what he's doing with his energy is becoming a weapon. Like, it's going to be turned into a weapon again. He can't avoid
it. His weapons come back to haunt him. His Iron Man suit comes back to haunt him. The energy comes back to haunt him. Because think about it. Obadiah wants the energy source, but he also wants the Iron Man suit. Now, they don't say that the two are mutually exclusive. So
he's more interested in the reactor to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he's just interested in making money.
Yeah, because that's what was the problem. When the stock started going down and the energy thing wasn't working, Obadiah was like, shit, dude, like, you're fucking up my money. Which was kind of cool about him because that's a realistic villain. Somebody that's like, don't fuck with my money. I don't think it was a jealous thing. I don't think he was jealous of Stark. I think he was thinking that Stark was going to run him to the ground. And then that's when that one scene after, when I think that was before the computer scene, which is the best action scene in the movie, is when he tells Tony Stark that that he voted him off the board, the committee.
Yes.
And
he like freezes him, right?
It's a shame the government didn't approve him. There's so many applications for causing short-term paralysis.
Yeah, and then Stark, or before that, Stark finds out that they sold weapons to to the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
So then that's when Stark. That's what I love about it. His character arc is getting better and better because he's realizing, I was an asshole. I've been humbled, whatever. And I want to do this for good. I don't want to be my dad and make weapons. And he decides on the spot, when Iron Man's not even like finalized, to go right after the good action scene of him flying at first, which was really cool.
Yeah,
right?
that was a cool scene.
He tests the ice and all that. It's really cool. And then he flies to the terrorist wherever the terrorists are keeping people, and he fucks them up.
That's like a revenge scene.
Fucked up.
That was a revenge scene in my mind.
But worst part about that scene. Great scene. Shitty score, dude.
Music.
Corny, shitty, like Metallica.
Yeah.
Kind of rock. And I get it, the American theme. But how does that represent America to me?
How many times can you use Back in Black in cross movies?
And what was that stupid one he was working on the motorcycle and they're playing that one? That guy's just basically talking.
The Suicidal Tendency song. Yeah.
I'm good.
Or whatever it's called.
good off that.
Yeah. I didn't like that either. And I really, they do it with Iron Man a lot. And it's just, it kills that because they really, even outside of that music, the actual score wasn't that great. Like either. I mean, it was so-so.
Yeah, it was whatever.
In most scenes, it was distracting, and that seems to be a theme with these early ones is that the music's really distracting during the big scenes. I don't know, but I do like Jeff Bridges as Obadiah. It is a very convincing villain until the end, but I don't think Obadiah was necessarily trying to use the Iron Man suit. I just think he got forced into doing it.
I really like that scene too when he takes the shit out of his chest. That shit was crazy.
Yeah.
That little paralysis thing he has was crazy.
Yeah.
I think Obadiah, in my opinion, is the best villain out of the Iron Man, and we'll talk about that later. But I think he's low key, but I think he's definitely, as far as the suspense goes, he added the most suspense to what Iron Man was going through, and Iron Man was trying to turn good, and yet what he did good is being used for bad, for the bad guys now. I just sort of think that Obadiah, especially when he gets into the suit, and I know at that point he's probably just saying, fuck it, they're already after me. But when he goes into the suit, it I don't know. It just didn't feel right. And then, the fighting was kind of boring. Here's
what really pissed me off most about the movie. I think this is, I don't know. The dialogue, dude, was terrible. Not Captain America. All Iron Man was in this movie was one-liners.
Yeah, the dialogue didn't. Unlike Iron Man 2, the dialogue pushed a lot of the plot in Iron Man 2. In this one, it just was banter a lot of the time.
A lot of banter, and it just didn't make you want to connect with the character.
Yeah, it made him more of an asshole than he needed to be. It made him seem nonchalant.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think there was. It subtracted some depth from the character.
Jeff Bridges, though, did a really good job. I mean...
Oh, great job. And the Jeff Bridges, like, scenes, all of them were really suspenseful. He looked sort of like a floating fat old guy in the fucking suit, but...
Yeah.
Whatever.
Very CGI on that one.
He's sort of a fat old guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the CGI, too, that was another problem. When Iron Man's suit was real on camera, it looked great.
And that's the thing I have, is that besides one action scene, which had a really bad score, in my opinion, is really the only good action scene in the movie. But I don't really know if I can judge it as an action movie because there was 3 action scenes and they were like, you know, it wasn't huge. It was just him figuring out how to be Iron Man and then being Iron Man and then protecting being Iron Man.
We see that as a common theme throughout the Iron Man movies, too.
True.
There's really only one action scene per act.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, like, fighting scene, I guess you could call it. Not necessarily action, but fighting scene per act. So there's that.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think we touched a lot on this, but I just feel like the pacing was good enough for a character-based movie. But if they're pushing it as an action movie, I just sort of feel like it was, you know, I've seen better ones from Marvel.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, how deep, you know, when did MCU phases start? When did they actually decide to push on with this? Because if they were really trying to do that with this movie, then...
This was the prototype.
Yeah, then that'd be great if they were already developing the stories and whatnot. If this was... You know, as for a standalone movie, it might have left a little bit too open.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, his involvement with S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think that was on purpose, though, dude.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I'm saying. Specifically, his involvement with S.H.I.E.L.D. Specifically, like, you know, what was going to happen to Iron Man, essentially.
Yeah.
Coming out as Iron Man.
Truth is,
Like, that kind of stuff. Which the Iron Man stuff, like, when he came out as Iron Man was cool, I guess.
I am Iron Man.
I think the more impressive speech he gave at the podium was the one when he decided to not sell the weapons anymore.
Yeah.
That was a really good, and it was, he really questions his father's
dad.
motives.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's one line specifically, he's like, if I had met you, I'd really, like, want to see if you lived up to what people say about you.
I think you're dead on, dude.
Yeah, so...
All right, so that's who you got at number...
So that is number 9?
number 8
number
for
8
you.
for me. So let's...
What's your score on that?
It's a 7.
A 7, okay.
Yeah.
And my score for Iron Man was a 7.3. So we're around the same ballpark, and it was number 7 on my list.